Loop statements repeat other statements. The action that is repeated can contain any type of valid statement, which includes a loop statement. So a nested loop is a loop that's inside of another loop. The first one is called the outer loop, and the one that's inside its action is called the inner loop. So here's an example of what a nested loop might look like. The outer loop is saying to repeat the action 5 times. So all of this in the action is going to be repeated 5 times. So we start by executing this statement, and then we have another loop that says repeat 3 times. So we're going to take this action, whatever it is, do it once, do it twice, do it 3 times. So we've executed this loop in its entirety. And then we execute this statement down here. So now we've executed this action of the outer loop once. And then we do the whole thing all over again. The second time we're going to execute this statement. Then we're going to execute the inner loop, which means executing its action 1, 2, 3 times. And then we execute the statement down underneath it. So now we've executed the action of the outer loop twice. So we keep doing that a 3rd time, a 4th time, a 5th time. So here's an example of a nested counted loop in which we have 2 iterator variables. So for my outer loop, I'm going to have an iterator variable I, which is going to go through the values from 1 through 3. My inner loop is going to have a loop or an iterator variable j, which goes through the values 1 and then 2. Okay, so let's keep track over here of the values of the variables I and j. So I starts off with the value 1, and we're going to repeat for the value of I, which is 1. J starts out with 1. So we're going to repeat this for every value of j. So we repeat this action, then j gets the value 2, and we repeat the action of the inner loop again. So now we've gone through the action of the outer loop, and then I gets its next value, which is 2. J is then going to go through both of its values, first 1 and then 2, executing the action each time. Then I gets the 3rd value, 3, and again we're going to execute this entire action of the outer loop, which includes executing the action of the inner loop twice, where J gets the value 1 and we execute the action, and then J gets the value 2 and we execute the action. So finally, I has gone through all of its values 1, 2, 3, and so we're done with the nested loop, and we come down to whatever is after the nested loop in the code. So what will happen if we actually use the 2 iterator variables in the nested loop by printing out their values? So let's again keep track of I and j. I is going to start at 1, j is going to start at 1, and the action here is going to be to print the values of I and j. So let's say we're going to print I is 1, j is 1, something like that. We'll do it on separate lines just to keep it simple. Then j is going to get its next value 2, and again we're going to print the values of I and j, so I is 1, j is 2. So now we've executed the action of the outer loop, and now I is going to get its next value 2, j is going to get the value 1, so we're going to print the value of I, which is 2, and j, which is 1. Then j gets the next value 2, and we're going to print I is 2 and j is 2, and then I gets its final value 3, j gets the first value 1, we're going to print I, which is 3, and j, which is 1. Then j gets its second value 2, and we're going to print I is 3 and j is 2. And now finally we've gone through the entire thing and we're done with the nested loop. Here's an example where we're not using the loop or the iterator variables in the action. But again, I is going to go through the values 1, 2, 3, and for every value of I, j is going to go through the values 1 and 2. So again, keep track of I and j. I starts at 1, j starts at 1, and we're going to print hi. So that's the action. Then j gets the value 2, we're going to print hi. Then I gets the value 2, j gets the value 1, we're going to print hi. J gets the value 2, we're going to print hi. I gets the value 3, j gets the value 1, we're going to print hi. J gets the value 2, we're going to print hi, and now we've gone through the entire action. So since the action just involved printing hi, all we're doing is repeating that 6 times. So I goes through the values 1, 2, 3. For every value of I, j goes through the values 1 and 2. So 6 times altogether, we print out the word hi.